Across East Africa, behind tall gates and heavily guarded walls, stand some of the most powerful buildings on the continent: presidential state houses. To the public, they symbolize authority, leadership, and national pride. But behind their polished halls lies a deeper story, one shaped by colonial rule, political upheaval, secrecy, and dramatic transformation. Most of these palaces were never meant for African presidents. They were originally built for colonial governors, designed to project dominance rather than democracy. Over time, they became silent witnesses to coups, assassinations, betrayals, and historic decisions that changed entire nations. In this documentary, we explore 4 presidential palaces in East Africa, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, and Kenya. Beyond their architecture and official functions, we uncover the hidden histories, controversial renovations, and surprising truths many citizens never learned in school. These are not just buildings. They are monuments to power, control, and survival. Uganda, State House Entebbe, and Nakasero. Uganda's presidency operates from more than one location, but the heart of power lies at State House Entebbe, one of the oldest presidential residences in East Africa. Built in 1905, it was never intended for an African leader. It began as a modest guest house for the British colonial governor, strategically placed near Lake Victoria and far from Kampala, allowing colonial authorities to rule at a safe distance from the local population. Over the decades, Entebbe State House quietly evolved into a symbol of continuity and secrecy. Many Ugandans are unaware that the compound spans 57 hectares, making it larger than many small towns. Inside are underground communication systems, private air access, and one of the most secure presidential offices in the region. A major transformation occurred ahead of the 2007 Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, CHOGM. The government spent hundreds of millions of dollars expanding the complex, adding a 500-delegate conference hall and luxury facilities. What shocked many citizens later was that these upgrades came while public hospitals and schools remained underfunded. Meanwhile, State House Nakasero, perched on a hill in central Kampala, serves as the official ceremonial and administrative site. Historically, Nakasero Hill was reserved for colonial elites. Africans were forbidden from living there. Today, it hosts state banquets and diplomatic meetings, but access remains extremely restricted. Few people realize that during Uganda's turbulent years, including the Idi Amin era, State House locations were repeatedly abandoned, reoccupied, and fortified, reflecting the instability of power itself. Uganda's state houses are not just residences. They are fortified legacies of fear, control, and survival, shaped by both colonialism and modern authoritarian politics. Tanzania, Chamwino State House and Ikulu. Tanzania's presidency tells a story of transition from colonial control to post-independence identity and now to centralized modern power. For decades, Ikulu, the state house in Dar es Salaam, stood as the country's most iconic seat of authority. Originally built by German colonizers in the late 1800s and later rebuilt by the British in 1922, Ikulu blends African, Arab, and European architecture along the Indian Ocean coastline. The name Ikulu simply means palace in Swahili, but its walls have seen tense Cold War politics, socialist reforms under Julius Nyerere, and secret diplomatic meetings during regional conflicts. What many don't know is that large parts of Ikulu remain structurally colonial, preserved intentionally to project continuity and legitimacy. In a dramatic shift, Tanzania inaugurated Chamwino State House in Dodoma in May 2023, officially moving the center of presidential power inland. Chamwino is massive, nearly 200 times larger than Ikulu, and represents the final enforcement of Dodoma as the nation's capital, a plan first proposed in the 1970s but delayed for decades. The scale of Chamwino shocked even government insiders. It includes vast ceremonial grounds, multiple administrative wings, and advanced surveillance infrastructure. Critics argue it reflects growing executive power, while supporters claim it symbolizes national unity and modernization. What remains largely unknown is that Ikulu was never fully abandoned. It still serves strategic and ceremonial purposes, especially for foreign leaders arriving via the coast. Tanzania's two state houses reveal a nation balancing heritage and authority, where old colonial palaces coexist with monumental new symbols of power. Rwanda, village Urugwiro and Kanombe. Rwanda's presidential residences are deeply tied to the country's traumatic history. Village Urugwiro, located in Kigali's Kasiru area, serves as the official office and residence of the president. Unlike many African state houses, it was not built during colonial rule. It was constructed in 1979 to host a Franco-African summit, an event meant to strengthen foreign influence in the region. The name Urugwiro means hospitality village, yet its past tells a darker story. After the 1994 genocide, the site was heavily damaged and later rebuilt, becoming a symbol of Rwanda's political rebirth under President Paul Kagame. Today, it is where major diplomatic decisions are made, often behind closed doors. Many Rwandans are unaware that the former state house in Kanombe, once home to multiple presidents, is now a museum. This building sits near the airport and is closely linked to one of Africa's most controversial events, the 1994 plane crash that killed President Juvenal Habyarimana, triggering the genocide. The Kanombe State House Museum preserves rooms exactly as they were, including bunkers and personal items, offering a rare look into how power operated before the country's collapse. Unlike other nations that erase uncomfortable history, Rwanda chose to display it. Together, these two sites reflect Rwanda's approach to power, controlled, symbolic, and deeply aware of its past. They are not just presidential residences, they are reminders of how fragile a nation can be, and how tightly power is now guarded. Kenya, State House Nairobi, and lodges. Kenya's State House Nairobi is one of the most recognizable presidential residences in Africa. Built in 1907 by British architect Herbert Baker, it was designed as government house for the colonial governor. Africans were banned from approaching it, and its elevated position symbolized absolute authority. After independence in 1963, the building was repurposed but never fully decolonized in design or function. It became the center of executive power, hosting key decisions during periods of political repression, including detentions ordered by early post-independence governments. Between 2024 and 2025, the State House underwent major renovations under President William Ruto. The changes sparked public outrage due to their cost and the removal of historical elements, including the iconic red roof. Supporters argued it modernized the building. Critics saw it as erasing history. What many Kenyans don't realize is that State House Nairobi is only part of a larger network. Kenya maintains state houses in Mombasa and Nakuru, as well as secluded lodges like Sagana, often used for private high-level meetings away from public scrutiny. Sagana Lodge, in particular, has hosted secret negotiations, political reconciliations, and crisis meetings, yet rarely appears in official records. Kenya's presidential residences reveal a pattern of inherited colonial power structures, adapted but never fully dismantled,